everybody, and welcome back to Sipping Tea with MBG. I'm your girl, Lillie Mae, and this month's episodes are centered around the theme of visiting old friends. Well, while we're visiting old friends, what better way to open up the second show in this series with my friends? I have my friend Angel, my sister with the A and the H, and Jamila. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a few minutes. But first and foremost, guys, welcome back. It's the month of February, and as always, we have to make sure that we are honoring our own during this month. We didn't want to have a Black History theme simply because Black history must be every day. Black history must be every hour. Black history must be every minute and second that you are living and breathing and walking in the essence of being an African-American man or woman. So with that being stated, I want to bring you a Black history fact, and the Black history fact is about James Thomas Rapier, and he actually was a Alabama congressman, okay? I think it's interesting to note that he was educated by private tutors in Alabama, and he studied in Canada. And so he studied law and was admitted to the bar. He taught school. The biggest thing is that even though he did all this stuff, he went back to the South and traveled as a correspondent for a northern newspaper. He was even a cotton planter in 1865. But the interesting thing is that I need you to understand that he was a member of the first Republican convention held in Alabama. Now, you have to understand, back in the 1800s, the Republicans' platform and stance was that of modern-day Democrats. So I think it's important that you note that, so you need to understand your government. But one of the major things that this gentleman is known for is that he was a member of the State Constitutional Convention at Montgomery in 1867. And if you notice, that came after the Emancipation Proclamation a couple of years later. And that's really important. You know, he was a part of the House of Representatives. He supported the Civil Rights Bill, and he supported the bill even before it became the Civil Rights Act of 1875. Because, you know, sometimes we'll support things when we see it come into fruition, but we don't support before. But, yeah, that's what we want you to know. So take some time, look up Congressman James T. Rapier, and learn a little bit about him because he was an awesome, awesome dude. And later in the show, I'll definitely bring you a health fact because one thing about it, MBG serves to first inform and then educate. And so I gave you a little bit of information and education. But, look, guys, last week it was crazy. We talked about dating in a social media-driven world. And so, ladies, before I talk about the recap, how y'all doing?
Good. Well.
Cool. So, ladies, I don't know if y'all had a chance to rock it out and listen to the show last week, but we talked about courting versus dating. And the reality is that so many people don't understand that when you court somebody, you're courting them because the prospectus is marriage. When you're dating, you're just dating for the physical feeling, like for the intimacy, for the romanticism. When you court, you're courting. Like, this is the difference. Courting has a purpose. Dating is just whatever. And people don't understand that. So I was like, oh, hell yeah, I need to be courted. I ain't got time for all this dating stuff. I can date when I'm having fun, you know. And we talked about standards and deal breakers. And, Jamila, it made me think about the conversation that we had about dating and, you know, standards and stuff like that. And, you know, people kind of thinking our standards are a little bit too high, but whatever. And then we got into the age difference. Ladies, the age difference. we referenced the Aaliyah song, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. But, you know, those are some questions to throw out there. Like, what do y'all feel like? What do y'all feel about age and dating?
I think this day and age and dating, like, is not even a factor now. Like, because you got young people that's going after older women or older men, and then you got older women and men going, some of them are dating younger. So I think that the age difference goes out the window nowadays when it comes to dating.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was talking to a young lady, and she was like, look, as long as he or she can buy a drink, you should be good. So I was like, I don't know. It's just that thought when you think about somebody, you be like, oh, when I was in 12th grade, you were in 3rd grade. It's like, ew. But you know, it is what it is. So, guys, Sipping Tea with MBG this afternoon, we are going to talk about the who do you love. Last week, we talked more about the operationalization of dating and finding love. But we're going to talk about who do you love. And with that topic, oh, gosh, what are you attracting? Like, what does that mean? When I ask the question, what are you attracting, Jamila, what does that mean?
What am I attracting to me?
Yeah, like what are you attracting? Who are you attracting?
That's kind of difficult. I think you attract what you put off.
Okay.
So if I'm being friendly and approachable, that's the type of person that I'm going to attract. When you sit, because I'm not really reserved. I'm not as reserved as I used to be, but I tend to attract men that are reserved as well. And I very rarely get a very outgoing guy that approaches me, and it's because I'm not the girl that's going to be walking around the room. I'm not going to be the one that's laughing, hee and hawing all over the place. When we go out, I find my spot, and that's my spot. So I typically attract the guys that are the same. Like, oh, I found the spot. This is my spot. Oh, hey, you're standing here too. Let's have a conversation. And that's normally what happens when I go out, if that's what you're talking about.
Okay. So, yeah, that's a part of it. So I think the first thing we have to talk about is this whole law of attraction and what is the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is technically defined as the ability to attract into our lives whatever we are focusing on. So that could be money and wealth, mental and physical health. Physical health, child. You know that's what I attract. Success and abundance, or, manifesting love and relationships. And basically that's saying that if we focus on negative and what we have seen, to include relationships that have been negative, that's what we're going to manifest into reality. And when we get tired of seeing the same old things, we're going to change it. Whether we think or not, we're going to change it. So Angel, I'm going to defer to you. Like, what do you feel like you attract? Like, what are you attracted to? But what do you attract? Like, what type of guys or what type of energy do you attract?
Okay. This is funny. But I'm attracted to guys that, laid back and just like to have fun. But it doesn't mean, the fun aspect of it doesn't mean they have to be in a club or a bar or going out all the time. You can have fun in your own space. So I like them type of guys. Yeah, we can go out and everything like that, but to stay and have that own intimate type having fun, not intimate as in sexual, but intimate as in intellectual and, every other aspect.
Yeah.
But But the guys that I attract tend to be the guys that want to show face. We call them the storytellers. We call them the storytellers.
Okay, the storytellers.
Yes, the storytellers. That's what I label them as, the storytellers, because they feel the need to tell you what they have done or what they are going to do.
Ooh.
Or stuff like that, rather than you can speak all you want, but actions speak louder than words. So I attract the storytellers, because once you get in that relationship, the story's not adding up to your actions.
You better speak.
Ooh, that kind of struck some nerves out there. I feel the bells rattling, guys. You sipping tea with MBG, and you know what's interesting? This afternoon's tea, we're sipping tea and champagne, because this conversation is going to be a little bit more. It's going to be smooth and a little rough around the edges. So this is going to be more like arena football and not professional NFL football. So we playing arena ball up in here. Shout out to the Richmond Rough Riders on the season that will be beginning soon. But so when we talk about what are you attracting, I think it's important for us to address self-love. But I know y'all waiting for me to say, y'all waiting for Lillie Mae to say what she attracts. But we're going to talk about that later, because it'll just take all day. So let's talk about self-love, ladies. Self-love is with regard to one's own well-being and happiness, right? So encouraging yourself makes you happier, encouraging yourself on healthy habits, less procrastination, easing your battles with adversity. But I think self-love is a little bit deeper than that, because I think that self-love kind of goes back to what you see at home. We talked about you sometimes attract what you saw growing up, or you're attracted to what you saw growing up. But I think what you saw in your household, or the relationships that you saw around you, impact your self-love. And so with that being stated, what we begin to do is we begin to have to talk about how does self-love and dependent love kind of pull that pole apart. Because dependent love is when someone's dependent on another person's approval, when making decisions. So basically, are you unable to find satisfaction in your life outside of a certain person? And are you giving all of your support to your partner at the cost of your own mental, emotional, and physical health? And you know what? Let me tell you something. Y'all listening out there, self-love is major. Until you love yourself, you cannot love anybody else, and nobody else can love you. Because when you don't love yourself, it shows. Prime example, you have a young lady who seemingly got it all together, so to speak, but she's always frowning. Something is always wrong. It's always somebody else. No, it's not always somebody else. No, something is not always wrong. You don't love yourself, and so you blame the world for all your troubles. You have to love yourself. Hell, you got to like yourself. And everybody that call themselves a loner, that don't mean that they love spending time by themselves. A lot of the time they spending by themselves is probably sleep, so that they can get away from themselves and be in the world of non-reality. I'm just saying.
You saying it right?
Preach, honey, preach.
What are some of the things that y'all do? And Jamila, I'm going to defer to you. What are some of the things that you do to enhance that self-love, to make yourself feel good?
Well, I am introverted, and I do identify as a loner because I do enjoy time by myself, and that's one of the ways that I enhance my self-love. I feel like if I can't spend time by myself off my phone just like reading a book or whatever it is I'm doing, then something ain't right. I also do affirmations every morning and every night. I have some on my mirror in the hallway, and I say whatever one that I need to say for that day, depending on what's going on, I say them because growing up, I didn't have a lot of self-love. My self-esteem was low. It was always something that I saw that I didn't like, and I reached a point where I just felt like enough was enough. I have to start loving myself before I love other people.
Wow.
And that's not something that I was doing. I was putting everybody before me instead of putting myself first. And one day my mom was just like, you know, if you don't start loving yourself more than you love us, at some point your love is going to go away because you're like you said, you can't really know how to love somebody unless you love yourself. And she really put that into perspective for me. So I started with my affirmations. And then I started doing yoga and I started meditating. And I started putting my phone down for, like, the evening. Like, just I'm not touching my phone unless it's my mom or dad calling me or some type of emergency. I don't need to be on my phone right now. I cut off the TV. Like, I do things with myself. And I'm not saying I sit in my room talking to myself, but I just enjoy that time to myself. I might cook or anything. Like, I like cleaning. That's something that I do. But, yeah, I definitely think the biggest impact was the positive affirmations, and I would say it out loud so I could hear it. And it started just getting into my head and something that I just knew. And it was hard at first, like to look in the mirror and say, you are beautiful. And you just have to keep saying it over and over and over again until you believe it. And saying you are strong, you are powerful, you are a black woman. And that's something that I say every day. And I still say it now, although I believe it now. I had to speak it into existence into my life. And that's something that I always tell people to do when they say, you know, well, I really don't love myself. I don't like myself. I'm like, well, you got to tell yourself to like yourself. I can't tell you to do it. You have to tell yourself. So I do it, and I'm not ashamed. Sometimes if you see me out, I'll smile and laugh because I remember that I did something funny because I love myself.
Yes. Oh, my God. You know what? We're going to stop that right there. Y'all, that's self-love. Nothing else needs to be said. That's self-love right there. That's all self-love. I don't care what you have to say. That is self-love. When you can look in the mirror and look at yourself and you know you about 20 pounds overweight and you can say, look, I look good. I look damn good. I love me some me. And that's right, because y'all that know me, y'all know Lillie Mae love her some Lillie daggone Mae. Guys, you're listening to Zip the Tea with MVG, and we are visiting old friends, and I'm very fortunate to have two. I don't call them old friends. They are friends. They are my sisters, and they are in the building. Every day is under the weather. Hopefully she'll be back next week. Antoine, the confidential informant, might join us a little bit later this afternoon. And Adam, he is taking a hiatus, but he will be back during the summer. And so as we talk about this whole thing about, you know, who do you love, I'm going to defer to you, Angel, because the next thing we want to talk about is material love versus emotional love. And we're going to translate that into what's the difference between love and an attachment. And so a document, you can find this at lifehack.org, said 5 things: that love is selfless, but attachment is selfish. Love is selfless, but attachment is selfish. Love is liberating, but attachment is controlling. Love is mutual growth, but attachment is encumbering. Love is everlasting, but attachment is transient. Love is ego-reducing, but attachment is ego-boosting. Okay, you know what? Let me shut down before I start throwing shade. But I'm going to say this, and I'm going to sum this up. And then, Angel, I want you to kind of speak to that and tell me your thoughts. But listen to me, those of you listening out there. Love is selfish. It's selfless. Love is selfless. That statement in itself tells me that if you are in a situation where it's all about the other person and what their needs are and making sure that they look good, there's something wrong. That's an attachment. Love is liberating, meaning there's some give and take. Means that you have the freedom to make certain decisions and do certain things on your own. Love is mutual growth. Love doesn't mean that I sit on this couch while you're out making moves and kind of just pulling me along at your leisure and at your pleasure. Love is everlasting. So when love is everlasting, love isn't dating. Love is courting, which means that you are pursuing me with a purpose. You're pursuing me so that you can gain the favor of my family and friends and those in my employ if we have that relationship. Love is ego-reducing. And to me, love is ego-reducing simply means that since you got this big old ego and you the man or you the woman and you're going to be the next president of the United States, and because I may not be up to par, you kind of push me off to the side. That's not love. That's attachment. Let me explain something to you. Good dick and good ass will make you attached. But a good heart, a good personality, phone calls in the middle of the night, laughter, crying on shoulders, just a tender caress is love. And that is selfless, it's liberating, it's a mutual factor, it's everlasting, and it will humble you. Angel, what do you think about love versus attachment?
I mean, attachment, to me, attachment is like so negative. The word attachment is like, it carries a lot of negativity.
Okay.
So you got your positive side, which is love, and then you got your attraction side, which is negative. Because love is selfless. Love is everlasting. Love is kind. Love is caring. Love is everything under the sun that is not going to cause hurt, because love is not supposed to hurt in any way, shape, or form.
That's right. That's right.
And a lot of people don't love. A lot of people, I hear it all the time. Love's supposed to hurt. No, that's not what love is. If it hurts to the point where it's causing you emotional harm, to the point where it's emotional abuse, that is not love at all.
You're right.
And I think a lot of people misconstrue love and hurt together, and they combine it together like that's how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like that. Love isn't supposed to hurt in any way, shape, or form, because love has so much energy behind it, to the point where love is supposed to cover you, protect you. It's a safe hold, and that is, is that. Okay. It's a breath of fresh air. Now, that attachment is like, you ride my coattail for what? Why? Why are you here? Like, what are your intentions? Mm-hmm. You have a lot of questions behind the attachment. Dick ain't all that. So, like, pussy ain't all that either. So, what is it really? Why are you here? Is it because you need some financial stability? You need housing? You want to, like, what is it that you need? Is it because you can't get nothing in your name and I can? Is it that? Or is it the fact that, oh, I got kids and you could be able to file them on your taxes if we get married? Do you have alternative motives behind your attachment to me?
Woo. We are sipping tea with MBG, and this thing is got. Jamila, did you feel it?
So it's like, it's crazy because,
oh my God,
a lot of people do not understand what is love and what is an attachment. An attachment is possessive.
Yes.
You know, so, because I'm going to use my example, my situation. If the case may be that you leave me today, I'm not going to tell anybody that what you have done for me or what I have done for you, because there's no point of me bragging about anything, because I know and God know what I've done for you. So it's no point of me bragging about it, because of the fact is I did it out the kindness of my heart because I love you. I genuinely love you. But if you can go to somebody and say, I invested in her, and I did this, and I did that, and I did this, and I did that, this, that, and the third, that you had an attachment to me. You never loved me if you need proof of what you have done for me. Because in love, there is no proof but the union that we have. That's all the proof for our love is the union that we have. Rather it's us being married, or you courting me, or we out and about, or we're just, because you're not going to date me, for one. You're going to court me for a long haul outcome. You're not going to sit here and say we're dating. No, we're not. We're courting, because I don't do the dating thing. I've never done the dating thing, because I'm one of the people that like to be committed. I like to have one person that I can just call mine. And that's the person I run to when I want to talk, or I feel like crying. That's the person I go to. But if the case may be that it's just an attachment, if I feel as if I can't come to you, then you're not the right person. You're just an attachment. And I thought that I loved you, but I see now that your attachment to me was not love at all. It's just an attachment. You're riding my coattail, and I need you to back up off of it.
Whoa, so okay, let me wow. Guys, you are listening to 17 with MBD, and this thing is getting hot. You know, I don't know whether to start singing If This Isn't Love. I don't know whether to start singing YG, Who Do You Love, featuring Drake. I don't know whether to sing Bo Diddley, Who Do You Love. I mean, whoa. So this is where I am. Guys, we talked about who you attract is a reflection of what you saw at home. And I want to go back to that, because you know that one thing about Lillie Mae is I try to be as transparent as possible. And so I want to always, tell you guys what I saw at home. And what I saw at home was a man and a woman who had both been married at a young age. And I think because they had, I don't really want to say negative experiences in their first marriages, but, and of course I wasn't born. I'm just going off of what my mom told me about her first marriage and my dad told me about his. Their spouses hurt them pretty daggone bad. Infidelity played a part in both, my mom's marriage and my dad's marriage. And the interesting thing is that many years later, they met, fell in love with each other. And the reality is that I only think my dad courted my mom for a year, and they got married. Now, neither one of them had kids. By the time they got married, my mom was in her late 30s, and my dad was in his late 40s, which means they were married for about 4 or 5 years, and they had their first child at 42. And then 4.5 years later came Lillie Mae. And they were older, so I think they had an opportunity to experience what love wasn't. So they knew when they got together that it was love. And guys, that's what I saw. I saw a woman and man who really loved each other to the point where when my dad became ill and consumed with dementia and soon thereafter Alzheimer's, my mother didn't throw him in a nursing home. She took care of him. And if you don't know what Alzheimer's does to a person, you need to talk to people with Alzheimer's or talk to the caregivers. It is a debilitating disease that infects the mind, and it will turn your loved ones into somebody that you don't even know who they are. But the simple fact that my mother kept him at home, that was everything to me. Jamila, that was everything to me. Like, that's why my standards are so high. And you know, I don't apologize for that. I will not apologize for that.
Right, you shouldn't.
You know, it's like, who are you to tell me that because I had a damn good upbringing and I had parents that loved each other, and the reason I know they loved each other is because everything that came out of their mouths was uplifting for between the two of them and my brother and I. That's love. You know, it's love when your kids aspire to meet somebody that's like you, and it's not forced. You know,
yep.
you don't feel like, okay, I gotta do this and I gotta do that. Like, for me, I know that the things that I saw my dad do for my mom, that was love. And so I think you're attracted to and you want what you saw at home, and I think that can be a positive and a negative. I pray for the positive. I pray for the positive. Now, I will say this, and I said I was going to get into it. What I'm finding is that while I'm attracted to, you know, a more refined kind of thug type guy, what's attracted to me are mama's boys and men that seemingly have a need for some sort of nurturing.
Because you give off a nurturing vibe.
Exactly. And I already know, guys, this is Sipping Tea with MBG. I'm your girl, Lillie Mae. And yeah, I get that, you know, and I can't change that because I watched my mother take care of my dad and her mother. You know, I mean, I even helped take care of my dad, and so that's major. That's major. Wow, guys, this thing is real. So let me ask you this. When we talk about who do you love, right, how do you think we can provide support to those individuals who are struggling with their identity, their sexual identity, and really don't know who they love, or they know who they love and they can't express it for whatever reason? And basically, we're talking about sexual orientation. Like, how can we support those who feel that way?
I think it depends on what type of support that person may need.
Okay.
So everybody doesn't need to be supported and loved in the same way. So, like, using myself as an example, I'm not a gift person. I'm also not the type of person where I need to hear you say something to me all the time. My thing is, and Lily knows this, when I need support, I just need you to sit in the room with me and let me process on my own. Mm-hmm. And then I'll talk to you. But then there's other people where they need you to tell them that everything's fine through words, and they need that positive information, and they need that. Some people need hugs. Some people need various things. Some people need gifts. Some people need to see it to believe it. So maybe going with them to a rally, or maybe going with them to a protest, or maybe introducing them to people that may be similar. Some people they need different things, and I think the most important thing is finding out what that person needs and then giving them what they need to the best of your ability.
Wow. Jamila, you're right. You're absolutely right. And just to give you a bit of statistics on sexual orientation, and let's just make sure we, label and define. A heterosexual person is a person who's attracted to someone of the opposite sex. And in 2013, and this information is coming straight from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, 96.6% of individuals identified as straight, according to the CDC. Now, homosexual individuals are persons who are attracted to someone of the same sex. And once again, in 2013, 1.6% of individuals identified as gay or lesbian, according to the CDC. And, of course, we know bisexual is a person who is attracted to both sexes, and 0.7% of individuals were identified as bisexual. And there were 1.2% of individuals who identified as nothing, they didn't know, or they were something else. And so I think it's important that as we are, discussing who do you love, I think it's important to talk about, individuals who may be undercover, so to speak, or on the DL, because that opens up a whole nother genre of issues. And I think it's something that we have to discuss. We have to kind of talk about sexual orientation, and we have to talk about how it's, displayed on social media and what the drawbacks are and things of that nature, because what's happening is I think a lot of people feel forced to get into a heterosexual relationship to save face when they really want to be in a homosexual relationship. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, ladies?
Right. I think that, there's nothing wrong with being who you are. If you want to be straight, that's fine. If you want to be gay or anything like that, that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with that. These days, older people, that were brought up the old-fashioned way will have an issue with that. But this day and age, it's welcomed because of the fact that you don't want to shun them down for being who they really are. There's more acceptance in some families. I'm not going to say all, because you have some fathers and some mothers who don't agree with their child being homosexual.
That's true.
So, and usually those are the ones who tend to come out and not be in the closet because they're rebellious against their parents. But the ones who are homosexual or even confused about what orientation that they are, they won't speak on it because they feel as if they're going to get judged by their parents, or their parents won't love them because of whatever orientation that they are or whatever. So they tend to stay in the closet, and which is bad, because 9 times out of 10, if the conversation is brought up, 9 times out of 10, your parents already know that you're homosexual. If they pay attention to their children, they already know. It's just the point is they can't just go directly to their child and say, baby, I already know that you are. It's okay. They can't do that, because that child needs to be able to come to you. And then when they do come to you, you need to just be there with open arms. But the ones that are scared to come out of the closet, the only thing that you can do for them are to acknowledge the fact that it's okay. It really is. And that goes back to having affirmations of self-love also. So it goes back to that. So they have to love themselves enough to speak on their own sexual orientation and be comfortable with going to their parents and talking to them about it. But 9 times is just they might feel like it's a problem, and their self-esteem tends to go down when they feel like it's a problem or it's not normal in that aspect.
But y'all know what this make me think about? It make me think about the haves and the have-nots. Because look at how Veronica forced her son to sleep with a woman. And, you know, speaking of the CDC, like, that's how you began to transmit a whole lot of foolery.
Yep.
You know, most of the time when people are reckless with sex, it's because, like you said, Angel, they're rebelling. They're rebelling, guys. This is Sipping Tea with MBG, and the reality is that this show is about who do you love, and we've talked about a lot of different things, and we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back because we definitely want Antoine, the confidential informant, to bring his energy, but start thinking about who you love. I mean, who do you love? But on top of that, who do you think you are? And who are you? You got to start answering those questions. You got to figure out, do I love myself? Because if I love myself, you feel me? If I really love myself, am I really going to do the things to myself that I've been doing? I mean, it's real. Angel, Jamila, thank you for coming out this afternoon, because the support and the value that you bring to the conversation about who do you love. I know that you ladies have been through your own respective situations, and I appreciate, you know, the energy and the content and the substance that you brought to this conversation. Do you have any closing thoughts for this this half of the segment, Jamila?
Jamila. I thought Angel was about to start, but I guess my closing thoughts would be: develop a relationship with yourself, develop love for yourself before you start looking for love in other places. I was always taught that if somebody says they need you, you need to run the other way, because that means that some part of them is dependent on you. Ooh. And don't look for somebody that's dependent on you. Look for somebody that wants you but they don't need you. Why? Because they're going to work a little bit harder, or they're going to make you work a little bit harder to keep them around, which means that you both going to be working hard. And I lost my train of thought. But anyway, don't go for somebody that say they need you, because that's one thing that my daddy said that's a red flag. If somebody look at you and say, I need you, something ain't right with their self-love, because you don't need anybody. You want people.
So basically, stop looking for projects. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. So you're not Bob the Builder. Hey, Angel, do you have any final thoughts for the segment?
To piggyback off of what Jamila said, I mean, just love yourself first before you go out there looking for love, because what you don't want is to run up on people when you do not love yourself, because that's when the leeches come and they can smell it from a mile away. Ooh. You don't love yourself and them leeches come attach themselves to you, and you already in a predicament to the point where you don't love yourself, but you're going to make sure that other person is on point while they diminish your self-esteem and drain you dry emotionally, physically, and mentally. So just before you even, if you think you need somebody, you need to take 2 steps back and say, I don't need nobody but God. And that's all you need. And you need to sit there, pray, love yourself. Don't let nobody come to you and say, hey, shorty, can I get your number? No. That's not how anybody should approach any male or female. You come to them correct, and you'll get a correct answer. But just you gotta love yourself before you step out there into them oceans, because the oceans will drown you.
All right.
Oh, yes.
You know what, guys? I don't need to say anything else. All I need to say is I'm your girl, Lillie Mae. You're listening to Sipping Tea with MBG, and we will be back after a brief intermission.
I was in the darkness. I was out in the cold. See, nothing could heal this hole in my soul. You reached out your arms to me, held out your heart to me, pulled me back from the edge. Thought I'd reach the end. When I was surrounded, when I was so confused, you pulled me through. Oh, was in the shadows. Faith back. Faith was so hard to find. You gave me my life back. You were my lifeline. The love that you gave me is love that has saved me. Your strength is what made me strong. You had me and I held on. When I was surrounded, when I was so confused, you pulled me through. Oh, was in the shadows. Confused, you, when I was drowning, I was so confused. You pulled me May the angels protect you, trouble neglect you, and heaven accept you when it's time to go home. May you always have plenty, your glass never empty, and know in your belly you're never alone. May your tears come from laughing, you find friends worth having. With every year passing, they mean more than gold. May you win but stay humble, smile more than grumble, and know when you stumble, you're never alone. Never alone. Wherever you a promise. The cold winds won't blow. So when hard times have found you and your fears surround you, wrap my love around you. You're never alone. Never alone. Never alone. I'll be in every beat of your heart when you face the unknown. Wherever you fly, this isn't goodbye. My love will follow you, stay with you, baby. You're never alone. May the angels protect you, trouble neglect you, and heaven accept you when it's time to go home. And when hard times have found you and your fears surround you, wrap my love around you. You're never alone. Never alone. Never alone. I'll be in every beat of your heart when you face the unknown. Wherever you fly, this isn't goodbye. My love will follow you, stay with you, baby. You're never alone. My love will follow you, stay with you, baby. You're never alone.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You are sipping tea with MBG. I'm your boy Antoine Johnson, the confidential informant. We are here in February, and it's February. I'm starting off my year right, man. I'm trying to motivate everybody around me and myself at the same time. So I'm gonna drop y'all off with 3 words that I'm using to just keep my February going. First word is procrastination. Don't keep waiting on things to happen, man. Go make it happen. Don't keep telling people what you're gonna do. Go ahead and do it. Don't waste no more time, man. Let's get to it. Next thing is organization. Organization. Get your room straight. You know that it's one of the big things that they say it can lead to stress, and I'm a believer because I tried it myself. Keep the room, your work area, try to keep it neater, and that's why I say about organization, because the more stuff you got cluttered in your vision, it's just gonna make life even more harder. And we already know people listening to MBG got a busy schedule, so definitely try to keep your stuff more organized going into 2018. Lastly, finish. When you start something, finish it, and just keep those 3 words throughout this month. And they say 30 days or something becomes pretty much like breathing air. It's just something that you do. So let's focus on those 3 things for the month of February, y'all. But as y'all know, we are visiting old friends for the month of February. I want to thank Lillie for bringing her 2 friends on early on in the show. I really love the things that those ladies talking about. They went in. Y'all know I'm a little bit more modest. I'm a little bit more nicer, but y'all know I'm gonna keep it straight for y'all because I'm about the people. So I'm looking at the overall opinion of the masses. However, as Lillie said, a lot of people are probably wondering, you guys have Amber J, you guys got Lillie Mae, you got Antoine, the confidential informant, and you guys aren't celebrating Black History Month. Well, like Lillie said, man, Black History Month is every day. We shouldn't have to designate 28 days to celebrate our culture, our history, being what we are. So I really was happy when Lillie said she wanted to go with visiting old friends for this month. But let's go ahead and dive into it, man. I don't want to rap to y'all too much on this Saturday. This is what I want to talk about. Self-love versus dependent love. Self-love versus dependent love. Now, I'm always keep it straight from the soul and let y'all know how I feel about it. But also, when I'm going into self-love and dependent love, majority of this work is going to be cited from Huffington Post and WebMD. But I will let y'all know as the show goes on. That's cool? All right, cool. Let's get with it. So, self-love. Let's start here first. When we're looking at self-love, let's understand the definition before we go anywhere in this conversation, guys. The definition says to regard to one's own well-being and happiness. So that means that whether you got a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a best friend, parents around, an addiction to a drug that you might have had before. I'm just going on the list of things because I really want to make sure everybody has a clear understanding of what self-love is. Self-love is when you can literally go anywhere and you'll love yourself no matter what anybody says. I know for me personally, it was a time period when I didn't even love myself. And it was difficult because I was an overweight person, bunch of jokes when I was younger. But then eventually I said, you know what? I'm not happy with my situation and I need to make changes. And when I did that, I started to love myself more because I was taking care of myself. I said I was overweight. I started playing football, started getting in shape. And eventually I started loving myself more because I didn't even realize it. I'm taking care of my body at the end of the day. It's just like if you keep working on a house. You built the house up by your hands, and now it's here in front of you. You care about it so much because you put time into it, and that's the same with self-love, man, with my obesity that I was in at one point. Now, of course, when I still go to the doctor, they still tell me I'm obese because the BMI metrics are off, but they ain't got nothing to do with that because at the end of the day, I love myself now. It wasn't even about the weight. It was just about me loving Antoine Johnson. So that's how I personally got there on that level. Just wanted to share that. But let's dive into some of the benefits of self-love, guys. According to the Huffington Post, they made some really interesting points. Accept yourself makes you happier. I personally definitely got to agree with that. It took me a while to, really to accept, a lot of stuff that people say that was wrong with me might not have necessarily been wrong. And I know that when people say words, they cut deep. So when somebody tells me something that I shouldn't be doing, I really try to digest it like, man, should I change this? But there's a lot of stuff that somebody might say is wrong that could actually be a benefit to you. And I don't mean that in a negative way, like going underhanded or trying to rob your neighbor. But if somebody says your flaws that you talk too much, you might just have a lot of information to give. But that all falls underneath perspective. The next thing that Huffington Post was talking about was encourage yourself on healthy habits. Now, y'all know we just finished talking about how I went on the journey of, losing the weight, trying to stay in shape, and I definitely got to agree with them on this one. Encouraging yourself on healthy habits. It went from me getting in shape to me in 2011 saying, you know what, I don't want to eat beef and pork anymore. It simply became a decision because I had already done the workouts with football, track, other sports that I played when I was younger. And now that I have done those things and I saw the benefits from it health-wise, it was easier for me to give up beef and pork. So that's why a lot of you hear a lot of personal trainers, they always tell you, there's no point in me, teaching you to diet if, you really don't want to do both halves. People always want to do one or the other, but you really want to do both. But it's very difficult with the way most people work life is set up. So I'm with you guys on that. Let's go to the next point. Self-compassion helps with mental health. A lot of times when we're going through stuff, we try to reach out to other people to try to get some type of compassion to see if anybody still cares about us to this day. I know recently a friend of mine, Favre, he actually had passed away due to he committed suicide. I'm trying to get it out now, and when somebody commits suicide, you really don't know, what's the reason for it. But I would just hope that, to prevent it in you guys' world, because I know at the end of the day, this has nothing to do with a lot of people on the other end. So I don't want to give y'all a burden that I personally am trying to cope with. However, always try to be compassionate to other people. But at the same time, You have to develop some type of self-compassion for yourself, because nobody's going to give you a break at the end of the day. You have to give yourself that break. People tell me that I need to take breaks all the time, but I just don't. But I do have my moments where I have to say, okay, Antoine, you're doing too much. You've done a lot already. No need to make this harder than what it is on yourself. So I say that to say this, guys, you got to find a way to, make yourself happy. Be proud of you. Don't let the accolades, you not getting the accolade or the award shut you down. Think about what you've done and how you will improve trying to obtain it, because there's always tomorrow and you can go after it again. So very big on self-compassion, man. If you can provide yourself that self-compassion, we can prevent a lot of those like suicide attempts or even people following through with it. And I just want to say rest in peace to Valerie Robertson as I wrap up that point. Next thing on the self-love list is called less procrastination. And I told you guys, February, my 3 words were procrastination, organization, and finish. You gotta stop procrastinating, guys. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm with you guys. I'm here. I get it. There's a lot of other things that you could be doing, but it's time to focus on what needs to be done first. Worry about everything else later. Like, try to at least separate it by like 3 things got to get done. Then after you get them done, then you can go into leisure time. Self-affirmation can help you push through those deadlines that we all have trouble with. So just always, just let yourself know that, just give yourself trigger words like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get through this. I got this. I'm not going to waste no time. I'm not going to hold this person up. Those are the things you want to tell yourself. And next and lastly, Huffington Post want to let us know, when you have love for yourself, it helps you deal with adversity so much better. Studies have shown that the divorced person which does not use self-criticism tends to be happier. I'm going to say that again. Studies show the divorced person which does not use self-criticism tends to be happier. So basically the one that, whichever side it was in the breakup during divorces, studies show that the person that's not pointing the finger and really trying to, which way should I be going right now? Self-development is great, guys. I'm always trying to self-develop myself, and that in self-love, it's a thin line between self-development and self-love, because you can keep developing yourself because you don't love yourself. I'm going to say that again. You can keep developing yourself, but you don't love yourself. But however, develop some type of form of self-love, and this will start a chain reaction. Don't pressure yourself for everything coming at once. But I think that covers everything for self-love. So let's go on down to dependent love. So when we're looking at dependent love, I'm going to give y'all my definition first. Then we're going to dive into what WebMD has to tell us about dependent love. When I look at dependent love, I'm looking at somebody that they can't do anything without their partner. They can't do anything without their partner. They can't do anything without their mother. They can't do anything without their father. They can't do anything without a lending hand. Now, a lot of people have a dependent love that they need. Confirmation from one person about decisions in their life. It's sad, man. It's sad. I don't think anybody should be dependent on the say of one person. I think the only times that you should be dependent on what somebody thinks is when you're at a job. When you're at a job and your manager's telling you what you need to do to maintain your job, that's the only time that you should be dependent on what somebody tells you. Outside of that, if you're a child, you have to listen to your parents at the end of the day. Your parents, 9 times out of 10, aren't going to tell you anything wrong. And if they do tell you something that might be wrong, it's only because they love you, and you have to find a way to see through their words. That's unfortunate for a lot of kids because it's hard to pick through the scraps and get to what you need. However, that's why MBG is here, so we can provide, ways for them to understand how they weed through things. So when we're looking at dependent love, let's dive into the actual definition that WebMD provides to us. Definition states when someone is dependent on another person's approval when making decisions. So us at WebMD are pretty much on the same page here. Let's use an example. I'm not afraid to put myself out there. I was in a relationship where I felt like I was in a dependent love relationship, and it was on the other foot. It got to a point where I really felt like I was with them, but at the same time, I was really catering towards them more so, just to keep them happy. I didn't really need their opinion, but I felt it got to a point where I felt like they needed me, and I say that in the least harshest way possible. I don't mean that to be offensive to her. It's just how I personally felt in that relationship. I felt like she was very dependent on me. There was positions that she had as far as in jobs. She moved up quickly. Within about 6 months, she was going to be employed as a manager there. Now, I'm not going to even say the name of the job, but my whole thing is we're in school, man, and we're both living off campus. And when you live off campus, you got your refund check, but after the refund check is gone, then you really have to fend for yourself. And let's be honest, when refund checks came, we didn't do the smartest things with our money. I wish I would have did so many different things with my refund checks back when I was at school. I wish I would have invested in a house so we would have been renting that house out by now. We probably would have tripled what we would have made on those refund checks when we were in school. But it's just the mindset of thinking that we were in. That might have been her problem. Just that was her issue. Everybody has a step where we were behind when we were in school. I can't speak for everybody else. However, she got a job. My sister actually got her the job. Worked there for about 6 months. They wanted to promote her to manager. She turned it down. Now the father is her father, nowhere near, of course. He's working extra shift to pay her rent for her off-campus housing. And at that point, I'm like, man, he's doing a lot. So I felt a little pressure on, trying to help out too. But at the same time, man, it's like I'm just a college student just like you too. So I didn't want to be in that type of relationship. And as men, I know that we are providers, and I understand we are caregivers. But it also comes to a point where if that person's not willing to help themselves, where do we draw the line? If you don't see that person doing anything to help themselves, we have to take the initiative to say, okay, I'm helping you, but I also need you to pull yourself out of this situation. I can keep bringing food to the table to you, but at the same time, if you're not willing to clean the dishes, it's kind of overworking me because I'm not where I want to be either. And it's kind of selfish for you when you have opportunities that you can be in, but you're not taking advantage of them. And you're trying to drag on your father and other people around you to get the things you need when you aren't doing anything for yourself. And that is exactly what I think dependent love is. And I was, I'm telling y'all, I was in that situation. A lot of guys are in that situation. They just don't know how to get out because they just are naturally good-hearted people. And I don't want to say they're lost, but they are confused with the two. Let's dive back into what WebMD says, though. First thing they ask, you got a couple questions that you want to ask somebody that you think might be in a dependent love situation. So, are you unable to find satisfaction in your life outside of a specific person? I'm going to ask that again. Are you unable to find satisfaction in your life outside of a specific person? If your answer is you don't have an answer, or you just got quiet, or you already know that it's a definite yes, then you got to find like a hobby. I've like seen people. I deal with a person on a regular that isn't with somebody and really doesn't have any true satisfaction to their life besides going to work every day, and it's sad, man. It's really sad, but you gotta be able to find something outside of people that you enjoy. I know me personally, I've really taken a liking to, because I was in a deep depression before I actually got with Lillie. When I actually met Lillie, I was coming out of that deep depression, really like getting back on the ball. Because after I first graduated, I was in a deep depression because I didn't know the things that were going to happen to me in that span of 2 years when I first graduated. I did not know all those things were going to happen, but I'm glad they did, because now that I have an understanding of being down, because my whole life I felt like I was on top of the world. But after I graduated, it definitely showed me how low I can be. And now that I've been in both, I think it's time that spiritually, I don't like to bring God a lot of conversations because I know a lot of people are atheists and don't even know it. I've been saying that for a long time. However, I know God has something planned for me because he wouldn't have put me through those things. But moving forward, I know if I might have got lost, I just like to relate a lot. But we won't go on to the next question. The next thing WebMD says that we should ask: do you recognize unhealthy behaviors in your partner, but you stay with them in spite of them? Do you recognize unhealthy behaviors in your partner, but stay with him or her in spite of them? You're in an unhealthy relationship, people, and your partner keeps hindering you. And when I say hindering you, I can even go back to my last example. You got something that you got to do, but at the same time, you have to take them X, Y, and Z. Where you have to go can guarantee you that you guys will have food in the house for the next month. Taking them to X, Y, and Z guarantees you a good night at dinner. And to make sure that you don't have a complaining household when you get back. Or you losing the person you love. This is my thing. Relationships, I like that word, but partnership is something that we should be using more often going forward. You and the person that you're in a relationship with should be in a partnership. And I'm saying this for guys, because guys, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. We don't court every girl. You just don't. You don't court every girl. Every girl doesn't want to be courted, and that's why you don't court every girl. With that being said, I'm talking to the ones that we are courting. A partnership, you should not be dealing with any unhealthy behaviors with anybody. Now, everybody has their flaws. Let's be clear. However, there are some unhealthy behaviors that are not good. If you know that they have an anger problem, if you notice they're not working on it or getting any better and it's affecting you, you're putting on additional makeup, covering up bruises, lying to family and friends, saying you're okay when you're not, and you're in fear of where you're living. That's an unhealthy behavior from that man. And if he's not making any improvements, I'm not understanding why you're still in that toxic environment. Because let's be real, you guys are laying up, having sex, and eventually if you get pregnant, you're bringing a child into that situation now. And people don't want to talk about it, but we see it a lot. And it's like a closed mouth policy when that happens to a woman inside the household. They think things will get better. They think he's going to change. I'm telling you right now, he puts your hands on you that first time, you can keep everything you want to think. I'm cool with that. The second time, you need to get out of that situation. And I'm telling you that because I love you. I'm not telling you that because I think guys that are beating women are terrible. No, because I'm a part of MBG, and I understand that black men, there's a lot of stress and mental health issues that goes along with the psyche of a black man. And if he's not getting the proper care or the proper compassion or the proper self-love, then he takes it out on something else. And I don't want that to be any woman. And I don't want any men to continue to do it. And I hope our men find a way. But women, as mothers, it starts at home. So when you guys have these kids and you guys are raising these boys coming up, please make sure that you don't try to box in their feelings and just tell them that they have to swallow their spit and be big, strong men. Because that's not what a man is. A man has to live too. So you need to let him have those emotional conversations that you might think are soft. But that might be the difference between living and dying. So definitely be aware of those unhealthy behaviors because they could have long-term effects. Lastly, what WebMD wants us to ask, are you giving support to your partner at the cost of your own mental, emotional, and physical health. You're going out your way and taking care of your partner at the cost of your mental, emotional, and physical health. Let's talk about mental health. If you are off mentally, you can be Tom Brady. You can be Shaquille O'Neal. You can be Kobe Bryant. You can be LeBron James. It does not matter. Because if you're mentally not there, somebody's going to throw you off your game and you're going to end up losing. And those people are some people that we look up to as great people in their own right in their profession. So just imagine that at work for your mother. If your mother's at work and, mentally, she had a long day, she's been dealing with your abusive father, or vice versa, you've been dealing with the abusive mother, because there are abusive mothers where the male pretty much seems timid, and in the black community we say, well, how are those two together? Or we'll say, I can't see her with him because she's a more dominant woman, and she's with him because he's submissive, and it's the same thing on both sides. I hear from women and men that it's a submissive issue when the other person seems timid and the other person seems more dominant. It may not be a submissive issue. It may just be a mental issue because those people don't know how to express themselves. They might be in fear. You don't know what the situation is. However, we all know that it is a mental issue. So definitely, I don't think anybody should be in that type of relationship where mentally you feel like you're drained. You don't feel like you're building yourself up. You should always feel like you guys are working towards something. That's how I always feel, because you gotta mentally, if you guys are not there together, it'll show eventually. So don't drag it out. Emotionally, how many people have been broken up at work? I'm telling y'all, that's the craziest feeling in the world. The emotions that you are going through when you get a breakup call at work, it's different. It's different. Emotionally, if you hear about, X, Y, and G was doing this, was cheating on me with so-and-so, you hear about that at work, your whole day is ruined. Your day is ruined. Emotionally, you're not there. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I know somebody will, of course. But even in the court of law, if there was an instance that somebody got harmed and what you said was emotionally harmful to the other person and they harmed you physically, they technically probably can get off without anything happening to them, because I can't think of the exact terminology, but I know Lillie Mae gonna hold me down. But emotionally, they definitely can get off on that charge, man, because there was a trigger. It was a trigger word that triggered them emotionally. And if they can prove it in court, hey, man, you just probably got stabbed just for saying something that you didn't like. So I mean, it's crazy, guys. And then lastly, let's talk about physical health. Your physical health is definitely important as well. I mean, let's keep it real, people. I mean, we know depending on what your belief is, you're not having sex. But for the majority of the population, most people are having sex outside of wedlock. Your physical health is definitely very important. You can't be with somebody that isn't taking care of themselves and their hygiene wise, and you see it. That goes beyond me. I've seen some weird relationships as far as hygiene wise, and I'm just like, how can you guys be together? And if you ask my manager, Wayne, he's very big on it, because he goes into these all types of crazy houses on his job from time to time, and he's just like, he doesn't know how people live in it. He says there's bugs running across the floor, rooms aren't clean, there's dust everywhere. All those things can affect your emotional and mental health as well. Physically wise, keep yourself clean, guys. Please keep yourself clean out here, guys, because if you don't, you're going to start putting people at risk, and then you guys are going to start having a Tyler Perry story via Facebook, and we don't want that to happen, nobody. Please, guys, no Tyler Perry stories on Facebook. I try to treat everybody right, make sure everybody does not get in trouble or do anything wild. However, if you do something and I see you acting out of character, I might tune in with my popcorn. So me, Lillie Mae, and Amber J, and Adam can come talk about it and talk about how to dissect it to make sure this doesn't happen again. It's all about prevention, but if you're going to put yourself out there, be ready to be put on the screen, y'all. However, this is Antoine Johnson, a confidential informant. You're now sipping tea with MBG. You might hear from Amber J or Adam later on. Lillie Mae definitely held it down earlier, and I'm heading out, guys. Thank y'all.